locked in.
Look at what we have here, folks.
To the only show that matters.
The cream of the crop.
Duke Loves Wrestling.
And there is no one that does it better than
your host.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass.
The Duke.
And I'm all out of bubblegum.
It's time to play the game.
Oh, my God. Here we go.
That's right.
Here we go.
You like that one?
You want me to get all Cory Booker on your ass? Call you out for not hitting the gym?
Oh, give me a break.
You're gonna invoke Triple H at the beginning of the show and not expect me to call you out?
Triple H is from New England. It's okay.
Yeah, and his wife obviously is more badass than he is.
Okay, so what? What's your point? That was a good Triple H impersonation by me.
According to you, according to a survey of one.
Yeah, hey, listen, that's all that matters.
Boy, oh boy,
that's 100% hit rate, Jack.
Yeah, it's just like from next you're just going to be starting like reading from Vince McMahon's Art of the Deal.
Oh,
he must have a book where he talks about business, right?
It's a great book.
I'm sure it is.
It's a great
I'm
book.
sure it's only a matter of time before you start reading passages of that to me, and then I really have to get upset.
You can learn a lot from Vince McMahon.
You can learn a lot from a dummy, too.
Oh,
that was another famous catchphrase.
Whatever, wise guy. Welcome back to Duke Loves Wrestling. I am the Duke. And yes, I do enjoy doing pro wrestling impersonations, and I'm going to keep on doing them no matter what my illustrious co-host, the Boston bad boy, I Mike Pelosi
I'm trying to find that phrase. Like when you say Beetlejuice 3 times,
yes.
Beetlejuice has to disappear.
Okay.
I'm trying to find the thing I have to say 3 times to make you stop doing these awful impressions. And maybe as a bonus, you'll disappear, and I'll just do the show myself.
I'm getting so good at these impersonations that you're jealous. Okay.
Does your mom even listen to these impressions? Does she just
does.
go? Yeah, and she's nice to you. Oh, that's nice, dear.
Oh, well, yeah, that's nice, dear.
That's nice, dear. And then she's just
that's
like,
what she says.
Yeah. All right.
What's your point?
Well, I think we all know what the point is.
Oh my God, Seymour Snott. He's going to join us today.
Yes.
And let me tell you something. He's going to talk all about his pro wrestling adventures on the indie scene and who knows what else.
Well, we've had this ongoing conversation about gimmicks and,
yes.
What makes a good one. Do we need more? And if you're going to talk to a guy about gimmicks, talk to a guy named Seymour Snott.
That's right.
Because that's a gimmick you have to own. There's no halfway.
There's no
on
halfway
that.
in snot.
Right.
Come on.
Right. And whatever it is, just the name alone, you got to back that up.
That's right.
You got to back it up with something. So it's not like one of these sort of middling gimmicks. Here's my thing. I wear a big giant cowboy hat.
No.
I mean, that could be anything. You're Seymour Snott. You're going to back it up.
He's a nerd,
Yeah, and so but he's got to know what he's doing, and I'm interested to hear his take on what this whole gimmick thing and,
I think
where we are
like
with
this
it.
guy. He's entertaining. The Boston Bad Boy promises something special for this week's Ask Duke. I'm sure it's going to be ridiculous.
No,
but,
it's going to be special.
Yeah, sure.
And I take special things very specially.
Yeah.
And I make sure I do it. Extra. I go out of my way.
You're
really.
special. You're real special. All that plus run the ropes. But before we get to any of that, I want to thank you. That's right, you, the loyal listeners of Duke Loves Wrestling. Thanks for tuning in on iTunes and on other podcast apps. Thanks for sending me messages on Twitter and Facebook at Duke Loves Wrestling, although sometimes you don't agree with me.
Most of the time they don't agree with me.
Well, it's 50-50 here. Quick reminder, all of our shows are archived on the YouTube channel, so if you missed any of our previous episodes, just type in Duke Loves Wrestling with an R and hit that subscribe button. Keep sending us your support, and we'll keep delivering top-notch podcast wrestling, Jack. It's time to run the ropes. I give my opinion on the top 5 stories in the world of professional wrestling. Let's go. John Cena defeats AJ Styles. Yes, folks, according to ESPN.com, and as seen during the Royal Rumble, John Cena has tied the Nature Boy Ric Flair with 16 World Championship victories by defeating the phenomenal AJ Styles. Now, look, this was by far the match of the night. And, hey, the record, I don't even understand why they would allow John Cena to tie Ric Flair's record, because John Cena is no Ric Flair, by the way. Nonetheless, the match was pretty good. It was better than the Kenny Omega and Okada match. Take that, Dave Meltzer, you know good, you know what, okay? 6 stars, give me a break. This match was much better, and it wasn't 6 stars. I may give it 5 stars, though. That's right. What's going to happen next, though? Okay, we put the belt on Cena. Now Cena's going to WrestleMania as the champion What's going to happen next? We don't know, but we sure are going to be watching. Middle Kingdom Wrestling China Season Premiere. That's right, folks. I can't stop talking about MKW. That's Middle Kingdom Wrestling. Now, look, you know they're based out of China, but they have taken the show on the road. They went all the way over to Thailand, and they've put on some of the best wrestling that you've seen in all of Asia. I mean, we're talking about Selfie King, Ash, Big Sam, MKW champion Dalton Bragg. I mean, the whole crew there. If you head over to their YouTube channel, you can check it all out. And listen, if you talk to any of the guys over there, you tell them that the Duke sent you. That's right. NXT TakeOver San Antonio gets glorious. Yes, as seen on NXT TakeOver and reported by SI.com, glorious Bobby Roode defeated my guy, Shinsuke Nakamura, for the NXT Heavyweight Championship. Now, this was a fantastic match that saw so many near falls, hard-hitting action. I mean, the whole 9 yards, folks. It's time, okay? Let me repeat that. It is time for Nakamura to graduate up to the main roster, and Bobby Roode is a great pick to take over the spot as the top dog in NXT. Who is Roode going to feud with next? Where will Nakamura go? SmackDown or Raw? You got to stay tuned to find out. Stop the presses. Seth Rollins injured. Yep, as seen on Raw and reported on WrestlingInc.com, Seth freaking Rollins was attacked by Samoa Joe, and as a result, he suffered a knee injury. And let me tell you something, folks, this is not kayfabe. This is the real deal here. WWE flew Rollins to Atlanta to get checked out by the folks over at the Dr. James Andrews Institute and find out how severe the injury is. Bear in mind, this is the same knee that took Rollins out of action for over a year before. So, hey, Seth, we wish you a speedy recovery, my man. This is pretty terrible, tough news here because WrestleMania is coming up, but hey, it is what it is.
Well, I gotta tell you, right before we started our recording of the program, I was perusing online as I normally do to find all the people who agree with me on Facebook, and there was a post on your Facebook page, and it said from Lydia. And she says, looks like Rollins' injury is legit. Samoa Joe should be suspended or fined. She puts that out there. First person to reply, who was it?
It was Rudy.
It was Rudy Boy Gonzalez.
That's right.
And what is his
My
reply?
guy.
His reply? Why?
That's right.
So they start going back and forth, and this is funny, and this is why I love this cast of characters you've assembled, because with Rudy Boy commenting, who else comments? Dusty will jump in.
Steve Cox
will jump in.
With regular fans.
He'll just talk about anything.
Yep.
But Rudy loves talking to fans about wrestling, and Rudy doesn't pull any punches.
Oh.
So he says, why? Why should Samoa Joe be suspended or fined? And they start going back, and I noticed you were in, he should be given a raise. But Rudy's comment, it's not ballet.
Yeah. Can you imagine he actually said that?
Well, I mean, here's a guy who's been taking the hits for all these years.
True.
And it's part of the game.
And you know what? That is an old school wrestler thing to say, too. This ain't ballet.
This ain't ballet.
Hey.
But it's like saying, Michael Schumacher, while he got into an accident, we should find Goodyear because the tire blew out.
I know.
The same, right.
Foolish.
It's not bumper cars.
Yeah, Lydia, foolish.
Wow. So we didn't want to call her out for being foolish,
No,
but
foolish.
I mean, she went back and forth a while.
And you know something? Rudy Boy Gonzalez will straighten you out, young lady. Okay? So you watch it there, pal.
Well, your buddy Lavelle jumps in, and, a couple of people who jumped. She had no chance.
I'm not talking to Lavelle Porter after the stunt that you and him pulled the last time. Okay?
He agrees with me, and he actually made a good point on here. So
Yeah, please.
With that, we'll move on.
Randy Orton wins the Royal Rumble. That's right, folks. As seen on the WWE Network this past Sunday, the Viper, Randy Orton, he eliminated that no-good Roman Reigns to become your 2017 Royal Rumble winner. And he's also the #1 contender to the WWE World Championship at WrestleMania. Nobody saw this coming. I mean, of all the possible scenarios, you would have never guessed Randy Orton would actually win that match. As it stands now, we're talking about Orton versus Cena to headline WrestleMania. Hey, I'm hearing that there may be a change in plans, though. You'll have to wait and see what happens, folks. But will John Cena remain champion going into WrestleMania? Will Randy Orton keep his spot as the #1 contender? I don't know.
I want you to fill me in on this because, again, I'm not as well versed, and we've been talking today about, and we're going to be talking about Gimmick and about the showmanship of it.
Yes.
Let's take John Cena. What's his gimmick?
He never gives up. Hustle, loyalty, respect.
So that's his thing.
Yes.
So his gimmick is a phrase.
Yes.
Which is sort of a
well,
lifestyle.
He used to be the hip hop guy too.
That's right.
He was the Marky Mark of pro wrestling.
Oh God! Don't get me started on Marky Mark. We don't have enough time.
I know.
What's Randy Orton? What would you say his gimmick
He's
is?
a viper. He's a snake that you can't trust.
Right. But they don't have cool gimmicks. Like he doesn't have like the viper head with like blinking lights or like smoke coming out of the nostrils.
He's not Jake the Snake Roberts.
Well, right. Yeah. Well, exactly. Like that. To me, I feel like that gimmick. We've been there, and we've been there, and it was cooler when it was back in the day when it was even simpler in a way.
So what are you trying to say?
Well, I'm just trying to say that if this is a WrestleMania thing, you're trying to hype it up, and I don't see it.
All right. You know what? You're disrespectful. Hit the bell. This guy is just disrespectful.
It's not disrespectful. I'm just talking about excitement level here.
You shouldn't
and
talk
I think
about
we're
these
running
guys
on
like
fumes.
this. You shouldn't talk about these guys like this. All right, they're working hard.
Yeah, we got a phrase, and a gimmick that was better served 30 years ago.
All right,
so and that's your big title match. But go ahead.
No,
go ahead.
Everything.
No,
you
go
ruined
ahead.
everything, folks. You've heard what I think, and unfortunately, you've heard what this guy thinks. All right, now what do you think? Head over to Facebook. Head over to Twitter. Type in Duke Loves Rasslin. Let me know. Do you think I'm a jerk? Do you think he's a jerk? Maybe something in between. Let us know about the nonsense. And that does it for Run the Ropes. Up next, the wrestling nerd, Seymour Snott.
Hey guys, this is Chelsea, the wrestling femme, and you're listening to Duke Loves Rasslin.
So, one of the greatest types of people in the world, and my favorite types of people, are the nerds.
Well, I mean, takes one to know one.
Hey, listen, man, I'm telling you. I mean, you think about Bill Gates.
Listen, I'm a nerd.
So you admit it.
Well, at heart.
Good job.
I'm a fan of like sci-fi stuff. I like all different kinds of things.
And I'm a big sci-fi fan.
And I think that everybody's a nerd for something.
That's
just
right.
Even if they don't apply the title to it.
That's right.
Everyone has a thing they're obsessed with, television show or whatever, makeup brand.
Well, you're more obsessed with yourself than anything else.
Well, obviously self comes first, right?
Okay.
There is no I in team, but there is an M and an E.
Oh.
So
you just,
those are words I live by.
You never cease to make me shake my head. I got to tell you that right now. But anyway, the reason why I bring up nerds, and this is going to blow your mind too. Mm-hmm. We actually have a professional wrestler who's a nerd.
A professional nerd.
Absolutely. And now listen, the guy has muscles. Can you believe that? A nerd with muscles.
Hey, I got muscles. I'm a somewhat of a nerd with somewhat of muscles.
Yeah,
I have a muscle.
Your head is a muscle.
I have a muscle somewhere.
Yeah.
I have a ab.
Give me a break.
Yeah.
All right. Well, listen, let's get this guy on the line here because I think you're going to be really impressed with him. His name is Seymour Snott. I got him in the speed dial there, so dial him up.
Hang on.
Hello?
Seymour?
Hello, this is Seymour Snott. Thank you for calling.
What's up, brother?
Just enjoying a fine cup of coffee this evening, just to relax.
Listen, I went with the toasted almond Dunkin' Donuts, regular cream, regular sugar, iced.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm. How do you like that?
That's pretty good. I'm doing the French roast McCafe. I made that from my Keurig, so just a little something to relax me for the evening. So it should work out very fine. Wow!
So you have the McCafe. You actually have the make it at home deal, not the 99-cent deal that you have to go to the McDonald's yourself, huh?
Right. I go and I buy my Keurig cups, and I just, it's great. I don't have to leave the house.
Wow. Now listen, you're part of the coffee court too on Twitter, right? You got a whole crew there.
Yeah, that's something that started. A few people got interested because I was making coffee posts in the morning, and everybody started retweeting and liking, and I said, well, let's just start a whole thing, and people just started joining along. That's awesome. Even that guy, JZ Flair, who takes the pictures of his beautiful wife with the belts. He's definitely probably my number one fan because he's dressed up like me several times.
Oh, you're kidding me. He's a good dude, man. He's a good dude.
Yeah, he certainly is. He's definitely one of the best fans we have around here.
Absolutely. And you know, it's funny, too. The best part, he always has to put out that disclaimer that he's a man. So people see his wife and they think that his account is her, but it's his account. It's like, jeez.
Exactly.
Poor guy. Poor guy. Well, listen, Seymour, you're the first nerd that I've ever seen with big muscles. So
well, I'm the geek with the physique. So.
That's it. That's the gimmick, brother. That's the gimmick. So tell everyone the truth. Were you in some kind of lab where you were making some special X-Men type elixir or something going on there? Like, or are you secretly Superman? That's what we really want to know.
Well, it was definitely more of a Bruce Banner Hulk kind of thing that happened. So I definitely started eating more chicken breast and taking more creatine over the last few years.
Well, listen, it's paying off for you, brother. I'm telling you. I don't know if I'd want to mess around with you and try to take your lunch money.
Well, I definitely had my share of run-ins with bullies, so it definitely helps out and it levels the playing field.
Ain't that the truth? Now, listen, how important is it to develop a gimmick in the pro wrestling business today? Yeah, what sort of advice can you give to folks who are just starting out and they're learning how to take bumps and how to do all that good stuff there, but when it comes to the gimmick specifically, what do you have to say about that?
The thing is a lot of times people say a gimmick is an extension of your personality. I think it's extremely important because I think that when you come down to it, it is wrestling. It is, it is what it is. But there has to be a little bit of an entertainment value to your character, to your persona, because I think that most people want, when they go to a wrestling show, they want to be entertained and they want to see things that they don't usually see. So I'm very much for gimmicks and characters and developing them. And especially with you see like with WWE, it's like you kind of have to be a larger-than-life character, and I think that deep down, I think Vince McMahon loves these off-the-wall characters. I think it's just that there really hasn't been too many developed in the last few years as to whereas, like, in the 80s and especially in parts of the 90s, yeah, there were some pretty bad gimmicks, but overall, like, you're always going to find someone that comes along that's like a diamond in the rough. Like, I've always thought that the original Doink, when he was a heel, was one of the greatest gimmicks of all time because it was an evil clown and he wrestled, and all these guys who were like everyone was assuming he was just going to go out there and be kind of like a pushover. He's putting them in these holds and making them submit, and it was like I thought it was a masterpiece. I thought that when Matt Bourne was Doink the Clown, I thought that was great, and then when he turned him into a baby face, I thought the thing kind of went downhill. But definitely it's all part of the showmanship and entertainment factor that I think that makes pro wrestling great, is always to have a gimmick and a character.
Do we need to go back to really focusing on these more larger-than-life gimmicks and what have you? I mean, you brought up Maniac Matt Bourne, who transitioned into Doink the Clown, which, like you said, was fantastic. Folks are still popping like crazy for The Undertaker. Right. Literally probably the greatest gimmick of all time. Do we need to go back in the wrestling business to developing more gimmicks and putting an emphasis on more gimmicks?
You know what? I think it would help more because I think it would get guys, and especially some of the women, and that's kind of one of the things about watching like with WWE or some of the women wrestlers. It's like there's not really that gimmick character or anything that's out there that's really too different. I mean, like you brought up Undertaker, that's like the probably the greatest gimmick of all time. And I think it's one of those things where it's like, there are guys you see out there and you're like, he kind of looks like he'd be a good psychopath, or he'd be a good kind of like, if they went and kind of made the guy into like an evil teacher. And I know it sounds kind of cheesy and corny and stuff like that, but the right guy, I think, can kind of pull off certain things. I was a big product of the 80s and that, and I was so used to these, these guys like the Iron Sheik and Nikolai Volkov and, as a kid, you saw them and you're like, oh, these guys could be dangerous and that. And I think there's that element that's kind of gone away today where the characters are more like, they don't really seem to be too different than, it's just like they give the guy a gimmick and it's like, that's it. It doesn't fit their ring persona or whatever you want to call it. But definitely, I think they need to bring back some of the gimmicks just to get that entertainment value in there again.
Now, that's a great point. Now, listen, my producer, the Boston bad boy, Iron Mike Pelosi, when I told him that we were going to have on a nerd with muscles, all right, he couldn't contain himself. So he wants to ask you a couple questions.
I'm used to talking to Duke, who's a nerd with no muscles. So it's a nice change of pace for me. But
watch it.
I'm always fascinated by this, and I'm fascinated by the gimmick, and we talk about this a lot. For me, in the current roster of wrestling, men and women, there's no differentiation. That's the word I'm looking for. And so it's hard to tell which one of these big muscled up guys I'm even looking at. So I think it kind of hurts casual viewership. So you can't just have that shorthand of, oh yeah, I liked so and so, oh Hulk Hogan, yeah, or whatever gimmick you want to pick. But also you mentioned Iron Sheik and Nikolai Volkov. There was almost a thing where the gimmicks were reflecting what was going on in culture in some ways.
Bingo. And
so it actually really made it again more accessible to people. The Cold War kind of theme or whatever was going on, which I thought was really cool. They kind of kept the pulse was on what was going on, and these kind of larger than life gimmicks blew up. And I have to agree with you. I think it's really missing. I've said that before, and I don't know. Can they get back to it? Do you think they could? Is there a way to steer it back towards that?
The thing is now is like, they try to go to PG and, wrestling can really work PG too. It's just, you kind of have to just change up some of the characters. Like I think with the cruiserweights, the thing that they're kind of missing out on that is that they all, like years ago in the cruiserweights, we were used to seeing more like lucha guys, and guys from Japan. And I think when you start, you can you almost have to kind of go back to where, you can take a guy and create a character for him, but, and I think it would help immensely with, marketing and stuff like that, because you could have so many of these characters with masks and the capes and stuff like that, and I think it would liven up the division to make people say, oh, this looks different. It's just not two guys, out there and, they don't have the character or the gimmick or anything. But like I said, I was a product of the 80s and that, and some of the guys, I think, they could really take some of the cruiserweights and put them into tag team matches because, the smaller guys in the 80s were always doing tag matches, and those were some of the best matches they used to have on the cards sometimes.
No doubt about it there. Now listen, when did you start in the wrestling business?
I started in 1998.
Wow. So you've been in the business. You've seen it all, brother. And who broke you in?
Well, I started out, I went to the All-Pro Wrestling School in Hayward, California, and it's the one that was featured in Beyond the Mat.
Yes.
So it was Mike Modest, Donovan Morgan, Vinny Massaro, and there were Crash Holly trained there for a little bit before he went for WWE.
Aaron O'Grady, right?
Yes.
That's right. And shout out to Mike Modest. Seriously, I want to give a huge shout out to Mike Modest. He was a guy that back in the late 90s and early 2000s and what have you, he was really one of the top guys on the indie scene, especially on the West Coast. And he was a guy who had a pretty significant name, even before Beyond the Mat. So the fact that he trained you, that's pretty cool. And Mike, and you're listening, you got some fans out here still, brother. We appreciate your contribution to the wrestling business. Now, who worked with you on developing a gimmick? Because I'm sure, guys like Mike and of course Donovan Morgan, they taught you the mat specific stuff, but who taught you about gimmicks and learning character development?
Well, basically, Mike came up with the deal where he thought it'd be funny if I was a nerd. So he said, he's like, we'll just put him and this other guy together who was George C. Snott. We'll put those guys together in a tag team. And
The Snott brothers.
I love George C. Snott.
Yes.
Did he had the whole patent outfit on?
No, unfortunately he didn't. He was actually and it was funny because when we started out, we were supposed to be heels, but I think the crowd out there was a little bit smarter, so they kind of got into the whole thing of these guys are nerds, but they're getting beat up all the time, so we kind of liked that, and they turned us into baby faces pretty much. So.
Wow. Now, and folks, keep in mind, we're talking 1999. In 98, actually, John Cena really hadn't even begun in the wrestling business yet. He was just starting to break in his own self, just to put some perspective on this. So the fact that our guest here, Seymour Snott, he broke in 98, here's a guy who's been on the scene for a while and has seen a lot, as we said. Now, what has changed? When we think about when you first broke into the business in 98, and we compare it to 2017 now, what has changed in the wrestling business, and has it changed for the better, or are we going backwards here?
The thing is, I think there's a lot of opportunities out there for guys. Let me retract that. I think there's less opportunity for guys because you don't have a WCW or an ECW that's around anymore for guys to go to a mainstream promotion that's actually on television anymore to get work and experience. You do have Ring of Honor, and you do have some of the local promotions that do get television, which is great. But with WWE, it's just a very, to become a successful professional wrestler, it's like the odds of winning an Academy Award or becoming a blockbuster movie star. I mean, it's just one of those things where it's like one in a trillion, pretty much. I think with some of the things that have changed, I think that I don't really see too many big guys anymore. Because when I started, I was wrestling guys that were 300, 350 pounds, basically.
Wow. Monsters.
I don't see too many monsters around. There's a lot of smaller guys. I don't see the, I kind of don't see that old school way of the guys who wrestled and kind of were I got to work today, then I got to go to the gym, and then I got to, I got to do this and that. And then, I think some of the guys have kind of gone into watching more YouTube stuff as their training goes. But it's just I've seen a difference in the attitudes and in some of the ways the guys are. I don't see too many guys coming up with gimmicks anymore on their own, or they kind of think, well, it'd be great if I do this, and it's like, you could count how many guys do a terrible Raven impersonation on both your hands and toes. So, Scott Levy, when he did Raven, it was great. 25 years ago, it was different. It was original, and then, everybody else decided to do the jeans and boot look. So it just doesn't work.
Duke always talks about what he calls the flippy moves, and how there might be too much of an emphasis on flippy moves and on these smaller guys that are more acrobatic, but they don't have sort of that weight like you're talking about. Do you think that, would you agree that that's an assessment that we maybe have moved the needle too far towards that, and maybe at the detriment of a good gimmick? We're looking more towards the acrobatic act versus the old school wrestling?
I think you're right, because the thing is that when I first started, and I, especially when you watch wrestling, it's like, some of your best guys, everybody wants to do a million moves when they first started wrestling, and then you can basically needle that down to two. What else do you have to do? I'm pretty much a baby face. I get my ass kicked through the whole match. I don't need to do a whole lot of big things. big moves to get myself over. It's just that I think the guys kind of look. There's like a different emphasis now on like psychology, and I think guys think that the moves define them and everything. And it's like, I saw a moonsault in a 450 every match, so it's like, once one person sees it, everybody's seen it.
Speaking of moves, who is your arch nemesis on the indie scene right now? Who's trying to put the moves on you and trying to take your lunch money there, Seymour Snott?
Well, the biggest rival I have right now has been, he's from Chikara. It's Jakob Hammermeyer.
Uh-oh. What's his deal?
And he just, for some reason, he doesn't like me. I don't know if it's the fact that I'm a better dresser than him. I can put a tie on.
That's why Duke doesn't like me.
Yeah, so he's been coming after me, and over the last 2 years, he's just done things like he's thrown powder in my face, cakes in my face. He stole my scientific wrestling trophy at the last show for Gouge. So
oh no!
He's just been nothing but thorn in my side. Talk about a real arch nemesis.
Well, speaking of arch nemesis, I'm glad you brought that up. And let me tell you something. I really feel for you. You're talking about a guy who, for some reason, he just can't seem to leave you alone, and he's just getting in your way. I got a guy who's in the WWE right now, and really he's just ruined my entire life, and he's ruined the entire wrestling business, to be honest with you. Okay? He's a guy who is a no-good punk. He's my arch nemesis. I'm talking about that no-good Roman Reigns. Okay?
Roman Reigns?
Yep. So hold on. Seymour Snott. Listen, my nerdy friend, please tell them, okay? Tell the entire world that just like me, you can't stand that stinking no-good Roman Reigns. Tell them.
Well, actually, I think Roman Reigns is a nice guy. He takes care of his kids, and that's something commendable. I mean, he does pay tribute to Superman with his punch, so, I mean, what else could you ask for?
What are you doing?
And he's the only guy that's out there that's taking a stand against these guys like Chris Jericho and Kevin Owens.
Could you maybe also tell Duke that since he's not an actual wrestler, he cannot have a real feud, and this is all just in his head?
No. Okay. Listen.
Well, unless he's playing the video game.
Listen. All right.
That might be it. It's gone to his head.
Let me explain something to you. Okay, I didn't bring you on this show to stick up for that punk Roman Reigns. Okay, and I don't know what's wrong with you, but I'm going to tell you something. Maybe your glasses are on too tight, and maybe I need to reach out to your arch nemesis and have him mush you up or something there. Huh? Give you an extra dose of discipline there, pal.
Well, the thing is I've always gone by when a problem comes along, you must whip it. So I'd have to whip it twice if I have to deal with you and Jakob.
Whoa, hold on a second. Like, I'm not a wrestler, okay? And
all of a sudden, he's not a wrestler. I
will sue. I just want you to know that, okay?
Please.
Jeez.
Seymour, I want you to take, you grab him by the neck, and then never mind. I don't want to give you too much advice.
No, this guy's not going to come on here and threaten my life.
No,
okay?
I'm going to do it. I'm going to threaten your life.
What kind of nerd is he? I thought you were supposed to be a good guy. You over here threatening me, pal. How can bookers get in touch with you, Seymour? And also, how can the fans get in touch with you if they want to straighten you out for threatening me?
Well, I can be reached on Twitter at Seymour Snott. I can also be reached at Instagram at SuperSnot1, and I have a Facebook fan page, and that's, of course, under my name, Seymour Snott.
Cool.
All right, I gotta ask one nerd question before we go. I know that Seymour's got a cool Batman tat. Who's the best Batman? Who's the best actor to portray Batman?
Well, I would have to go with Adam West.
An irreverent performance by Adam West. I think I might have to agree with you on that one.
See, I mean, you come on here and you insult me, and now you insult the world by having.
I'm going to shut Duke's mic off. We'll talk superheroes for the rest of the show.
Yeah, all right. Talking about Adam West, Michael Keaton, pal, get your act together. His name is Seymour Snott. I want to thank you for joining us, and we'll have you back in the not too distant future, as long as you promise not to beat me up.
Okay, that sounds like a deal.
Wow, that's too nice. Too nice. How did that happen? How did he just turn and be nice to you?
Hey, look, because he knows better.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Of all
I'm
the
gonna tell you.
wrestlers we've had on this show,
Yeah.
Every single one without question. Maybe Steve Cox is the only guy that hasn't want to rip your arms out of its sockets. But I've never seen someone just be like, okay, yeah, no, we're good.
Well, because I'll sue. Okay.
Oh, please.
Once you start talking lawyers, Jack, they know better.
Get on with the show.
Yeah. Up next, the Boston Bad Boy. He's probably going to go too far in
Never.
the latest edition of Ask Duke. We'll have to
That's
see.
insulting.
Yeah, well, good.
I would never do
Good.
that.
I'm
Never.
glad you're insulted, okay? Good.
Oh, you're going to pick on
Yeah.
me because the wrestler's not in the phone anymore.
No,
You're not afraid
because
to get beat up.
you encourage that crap. Just so you know, okay?
I'm going to start working out, and then you'll be. Then I'm going to actually bring it to you.
Yeah, okay. I'm so
My
scared.
one ab.
Listen, before we get to any of that, folks, if you're going to be in the Orlando area for WrestleMania weekend, then join the Boston Bad Boy and I at the Something to Wrestle with Bruce Pritchard and Conrad Thompson live special event. See that? I could say that whole thing. Imagine that.
It's because it's written down in front of you. I can see you reading it.
Give me a break. Now, this is going down Saturday, April 1st at the Back Booth, 37 West Pine Street in Orlando. There's no telling who's going to be there. I got a funny feeling that Tony Schiavone, okay, the voice of WCW, I got a feeling he's going to be there.
Really?
And Tony's he's a man.
Do you feeling a disturbance in the force?
Well, look, because Conrad just started a new show with Tony.
Oh,
which is pretty interesting. And Tony,
interesting coincidence.
he was the straight man for so long, he swears on the show.
Wow.
It makes me feel like the first time I heard Bob Saget from Full House swear.
Yeah.
This is
when you saw him do what's the movie where they tell the joke? The Aristocrats.
The Aristocrats. Oh my God! When I saw that,
eye opening.
Yeah, this is what happens when I hear Tony Schiavone swear.
Right.
So Tony Schiavone's probably going to be there, folks. So why aren't you going to be there? Get there, okay? We will see you there. That's right, Jack.
What's up, guys? This is Babam from the You Should Play This podcast, and you are listening to Duke Loves Rasslin', but you're not listening to him play any good video games. Pro Wrestling, give me a break.
It's amazing how you just continue to put yourself over, and you make yourself so important on the show, and it's
Do you
just
see this? This is an unnecessary. This is an unnecessary attack.
the whole show.
And you know what?
been
If you don't
carrying
like
on.
it, I'm going to quote the new White House press secretary. You can get with the program, or you can get out.
Oh, that's
And
that,
if you're gonna insult me,
yeah. That must
I'm
be
just gonna, I'm gonna do what I want.
That's an alternative fact, by the way, folks. That's an alternative fact.
No,
All
you have
right.
to- when you say you have to choke, alternative fact.
Yeah, right.
like you had to swallow gravel just to get it down.
somebody-
The bile rising in your throat.
Well, forgive us for going down this road again, like we do at times.
Well,
But
I mean, it's big news.
they say, well, it's not a ban.
No,
Well, the president said it's a ban.
no, you people said it's a ban.
Yeah. Well, he goes, I get that, but it's not a ban.
I get that, but you're the ones that keep saying ban.
Yeah.
And then the reporter held up a phone with it on there and
Yes,
said,
with the Twitter.
"She's in the front row."
Yeah.
And he goes, "We're not talking about that."
Bingo.
I already said next question.
Bingo.
But I do like that the press in this country is growing a set and they're working together.
Yes.
Which happened in the last days of the Bush II administration. Too little, too late. Probably.
Too little, too late.
They should always act together, and they should always try and destroy whoever is in power. I don't care, Democrat.
Question everybody.
Just right. Anything. Every
Bingo.
moment. Because
Bingo.
the more you pull these people apart, the more they're going to have to do the right thing, or else be exposed.
That's
for
it. That's it.
Whatever
you
nefarious
have to be held
dealings.
accountable.
I don't care whose side.
Yep.
Because this whole situation is eye opening in general.
Scary.
Yeah.
Well, and folks, we'll be talking about this in the upcoming weeks. When you talk about immigration in the United States, and when you talk about making it difficult for our friends around the world, especially legal citizens of the United States, just because they weren't born here, but they got their paperwork straight. When you make it difficult for them to get in and out of the country, that affects everything,
Absolutely.
including the wrestling business.
Right. And I saw
Okay.
that. You sent me a link on
Absolutely.
that about the Mexican wrestlers,
Yes.
right? And there was some
Yes.
issues with some of these guys.
Bingo. So especially in the wrestling business where we have such an array of international stars, and even our wrestlers who were born here who go back and forth all over the world.
Right, to Japan. Or
Absolutely.
even a lot of these guys are from Canada.
From Canada.
That's right. So is that going to affect...
Absolutely. If you're a dual citizen, you got a problem.
Well, the thing is, I think people think, when they think immigration, they think of, Ellis Island. They think of boats coming. But you're talking about Canada, which we can get to Canada from where we are right now in about 3 hours.
Absolutely.
If we're obeying the speed limit.
Yep.
It's about just doing business. It's about like, well, I'm here and there. You know, I know a lot of people who, because Ireland offers a dual citizenship. If your grandmother was born there,
yes,
a lot of people I know have done that just as a cool thing to do.
Why not? Yeah.
But now that puts them in jeopardy because they're traveling.
Big time.
Again, very complex issue. We're not trying to simplify it. However, the obvious stuff is pretty obvious.
Yes.
The obvious badness is obvious. We can dig in beyond that, but the obvious badness is obvious.
We'll definitely be exploring that in more detail, and we'll be talking to some of our international wrestlers. And
I think it's important, and again, not to go down a road with it, but it impacts what we talk about,
easily.
And it impacts it impacts our listeners probably. I mean, we have listeners from all around.
Absolutely.
And we have listeners who have relatives from all around.
Yep.
I have relatives from other places. I know people from other countries who are born citizens. You do.
Absolutely. My family.
Your family. Yeah. And so, it's relevant. It's not happening to other people.
No, it's happening to everyone.
It's happening to everybody.
That's right. That's right. All right, Boston Bad Boy.
Well, now that we've gone down that depressing road.
Yeah, now we've done that. We're about to get more depressing because you're going to start your nonsense now.
Well, again, when I get some quality questions that I deem quality, I will then ask these questions. But
despicable.
I'm finding the participation level from our quote-unquote fans lacking.
Oh, boy.
Okay?
Yeah.
So I'm going to tell you that right now.
Yeah.
So I'm going to call them out.
Drunk with power.
Well, it's lacking. So you know what? Impress me. Impress me.
Impress you.
Yeah, impress me with some well-thought-out questions, and not from any ninnies with ridiculous screen names or handles. Just say your name.
And you folks actually allow this guy to carry on this way. Some of you actually cheer him on, and that's the problem. So you see what you created, this monster, just so you know, folks. Okay.
So
that's right.
Since we don't have any questions, I've had to use my superior intellect and come up with a new segment to do right now. And this is going to be really good because this is my I told you so moment of the week.
Oh, my goodness.
Did you hear that?
You kidding me?
Did you hear that? Let's play that one more time.
Well, I told you so.
Oh,
okay.
God.
I say this phrase to you so much, I actually hired somebody to do it. So I just press the button.
I told you so.
And it just plays.
Don't think I'm going to reimburse you for that, by the way.
Well, no. Listen, that was money well spent because it saves me time and effort.
No.
I told you so.
Give me a break.
So, and for the I told you so moment this week, you watched the Royal Rumble.
Yeah. Who didn't?
I don't know. I saw there was a lot of controversy and a lot of people who were not so fond of it.
Yeah, true. It was a tough
and I bet,
pay-per-view.
Tough for you, especially because you saw the Charlotte Bayley match.
Yeah, it was a good match,
and Charlotte won, resulting in a record. How many wins?
16.
16 straight pay-per-view victories. A record for any wrestler, male or female.
Yeah,
that's a record.
Impressive.
A record in the history of wrestling.
Impressive.
So here's what I'm getting to, and I think you know.
Why do you got that look on your face?
Well,
right
here's
now?
what I'm getting to. So Charlotte's out there making history, right? Where's your buddy? Where's your hero? Sasha Banks.
Folks,
I'll say
we're
her
going
name.
down the wrong path
Sasha
right
Banks.
now.
Where is she? Oh, you know what? You might have missed Sasha Banks.
Oh boy,
because she was on the pre-show getting dismantled by Nia Jax.
Why are you doing this?
She was put in the play when the kids are buying their inflatable whatever and T-shirts, and people are milling around, and the house lights are still up, and she's getting dismembered by Nia Jax because Vince hates her so much.
Oh my gosh.
She must be on some kind of Vince McMahon probation, busted all the way down to the pre-show.
Wow.
The pre-show. Do you know the only pre-show that matters in sports?
What's that?
Horse racing. Because the pre-show is essentially the entire thing, right? The horse race itself is about a minute and a half, but it's 4 or 5 hours of pre-show, Kentucky Derby. This was the pre-show to Royal Rumble. It wasn't even pre-show to WrestleMania. And there she is, not only on the pre-show, but getting her ass handed to her.
I can't believe you're being so disrespectful right now.
It's not about disrespect. It's fact.
Can't
Did you watch
this.
it? It's fact.
All right.
It was in front of our eyes. It's what happened. So I want to say...
Well, I told you so.
Give me a break.
Because let's talk about this.
No, let's not talk about this.
You and I can agree, and you're such a super fan that it's sickening. Some of the best matches of 2016, Sasha Banks is involved in.
Absolutely. No, there is no doubt about that. Okay? No doubt about that. The boss put on one of the best 2016s of anybody.
So here's my question. Okay?
I don't want to answer it.
You're going to have to answer it. I'll just turn the show off. You mentioned earlier John Cena defeated AJ Styles for the WWE World Championship. And you mentioned Randy Orton won the Royal Rumble, so he'll be facing Cena at WrestleMania.
Okay.
All right?
Yeah.
So tell me again how much Vince respects this current generation, and specifically Sasha Banks.
Oh, my God.
Because, you know, we're early in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
And we're basically being told 2017, not Sasha Banks' year. Tell me why, from a marketing standpoint, from an entertainment standpoint, from a writing why are they doing this to her for any other reason? Go ahead, try and defend it.
You think I know? I mean, there's got to be something that they're leading up to that's going to be pretty cool. There should be a payoff because, hey, sometimes you got to take the hero and beat them down so people can get behind them and cheer for them and hopefully they persevere in the end. It's got to be something like that.
Charlotte has won 16 times. Why do we need to see her win again? And then not even that, why is your girl bumped to the pre-show? Tell me. I want you to justify it.
There's nothing wrong with the pre-show. At least she was on the card. I mean, come on, man.
At least she was on the card. Well, at least she was let in the building. Hey, at least they let her have a dressing room.
All right.
You know?
All right.
And and I'm going to continue on that kick.
No, please don't.
No, I am, because we just, Cena and Orton, how long have they been with the company?
Jeez, like the last 15 plus years.
15 years, that's right. So, why are we seeing them in matches?
What do you mean?
Why are we lifting up these old, worn-out guys who are at the ends of the twilights of their career?
Come on.
Tell me why.
Come on.
Why are we going back to that well?
They're established stars, okay? I mean, John Cena still is over like Grover. He's still a big deal. And Randy Orton, I mean, he's one of the best wrestlers
not
to come around in a long time.
Established enough even for those guys to be at the cliffhanger of the previous event where it had Undertaker and who was it?
Brock Lesnar,
that's
Goldberg.
Right. And Goldberg. So which is it? Are they the old school that people really want to see because they're marketable, or aren't they? Do we have to go even back to 25 years ago because even they're not good enough to have the cliffhanger? Tell me. So you're arguing against yourself here.
I don't even know what you're asking me right now because look, they're all part of the same company. All right, it's a team. Okay,
no, it's not a team.
It's and people get their numbers called, and it's time to
no. You're out of it. You're
show.
so far in the weeds, and you don't even know it.
Come on,
you don't even know it.
Come on.
Why can't you let a guy like AJ Styles, someone the fans love, remain the champ? Why can't you do that? Why do you have to drag out these dinosaurs? We've seen it before. How many times have those two guys, Cena and Orton, how many times have they gone at it? How many times do you have to see this?
That means they have chemistry. Okay, so maybe they're going to put on a great match.
No, it's a lazy money grab from Vince McMahon.
No. Come on, man.
And speaking of Vince McMahon, I think there's some backroom vincing going on.
Okay,
which is why Sasha ended up on that pre-show.
Here we go.
Because she might have crossed him somehow, and I'm sure it will come to light, as it always does, with Vince's schemes of why he keeps someone in a contract just to F with them. I think that's going to eventually come to light with your buddy Sasha, and then you're going to be faced with a crisis because your love for Vince is so big. I think it actually eclipses your love for Sasha Banks. What are you going to do? You're going to be a man against himself.
And
we all know a man divided against himself cannot stand.
For over 30 years, Vince McMahon, has been at the pinnacle of the wrestling business, and you sit here every single week and you disparage the great Vince McMahon, the guy that put everybody on the map.
I think he might be losing it.
No,
I think he's losing his touch.
It.
No, I think he's losing the touch.
It is unacceptable for you to continue to disrespect Vince McMahon, a person who has literally paved the way. He's created jobs for these people.
He's consolidated wrestling.
For
he's
us.
consolidated wrestling into a monopoly.
No.
And we just talked to
Seymour Snott.
Seymour Snott, and he even said that there are less opportunities happening because of this consolidation.
He can't wipe everybody's butt and build wrestling promotions for everybody. Give me a break.
No, he's building one wrestling promotion for only the people he wants.
Okay.
And you know what? Maybe he's losing his touch a little bit.
No, he's not. Look, there's nothing wrong with John Cena versus Randy Orton. And I think that is completely ridiculous that you're going to sit here and try to put these guys out there like they haven't sat here and built this company for the past 15 plus years with their blood, sweat, and hard work.
15 years. How many times do we have to see it? What I'm telling you. And again, it goes back to the entire theme of what ended up being today's show, which is gimmick and the theater of wrestling. And is it worn out and tired right now? And you're proving my point again, because we just keep bringing these old tired guys out. And when the old tired John Cena doesn't work, let's go back to Undertaker and Brock Lesnar and Goldberg. What are they going to do? Start dig up the bones of Macho Man and throw him out there at some point?
You are just so disrespectful. You just do not care about the wrestling business, and that's what's really coming out to light here.
No,
okay? Because you get this derogatory
I care about it more.
Crap that you're talking.
You know what
right
you care
now.
about? You care about looking good to Vince McMahon, because if you meet him someday, you don't want him to put you in a headlock.
I'm pulling the plug. That's it, folks. Thank you to Seymour Snott for joining us today.
Yeah, there's a man who knows what he's talking about, not you.
I can't believe the Boston Bad Boys talking this garbage, and I apologize for how disrespectful this guy is. Okay?
Get out of here, Nana.
How disrespectful this guy is.
Apologize for me.
What is wrong with you, man?
I'm telling you,
it's like
he's losing his touch, and I'm going to explore this
about the wrestling
because I have my theories, and this is my current
talk.